This program is presented by the Associated General Contractors of America.
You've done this work 1,000 times. You're good at it, and so are your buddies. You can handle any situation that comes along. Or can you?
Hey, Steve, why don't you wait for the trench bus? Ah, forget about it. Don't worry.
Just imagine this happening on your job site with your co-worker down there.
Steve! Somebody help! Steve!
How could something like this happen? What can you do to prevent it?
People think they can get out of a trench in time or dig themselves out if they get caught in a cave-in. But no matter how much skill and experience you have in this industry, it's just not that easy. Every year, workers are killed or injured in cave-in accidents, and about half the people killed were trying to rescue someone else.
When you're working with something as familiar as the ground we walk on, it's hard to imagine it being deadly. But there are plenty of opportunities for an accident to occur, unless you take the precautions to prevent it. Working safely in excavation and trenching means you understand the potential hazards, know your resources for determining soil condition, understand the elements that affect the site, know the common kinds of protective systems and how to use them, and follow safe work habits and proper emergency procedures.
Excavation is a dangerous business, and there are plenty of potential hazards. Injuries and fatalities happen because the condition of the soil can change and shift, causing a collapse or cave-in. Soil not only moves quickly, but it can also be heavy. The fact is, the collapse of a trench only 4 feet high can break your leg.
And just a few feet of soil on top of you can put enough pressure on your body to hold you like a vice. Ever had the wind knocked out of you? It's like your lungs can't move enough to bring the air in. That's what it's like if a trench collapses and your upper body is caught. The weight of only 2 or 3 feet of soil can put enough pressure on your chest to prevent you from breathing. Within 4 to 6 minutes, brain damage sets in, and after 10 minutes, it's too late.
The hazards are all too real, and to prevent them, you need to understand the basics of soil condition. OSHA has classifications for soil that help determine the condition of the earth you're working in. You can be working in anything from loose sand to mud to solid rock, and the protection systems you use will depend on the stability of the soil you're working with. Your best resource for information on soil condition and protection systems is the competent person.
The competent person is someone who is well trained in trenching and excavation procedures and has the authority to take action to eliminate or reduce the risk of any hazards on the site. The competent person monitors the soil conditions and the protection systems throughout the job. These inspections are important because a soil that's safe under certain circumstances can degrade and become dangerous in others. This is all due to a variety of elements that can affect the work site. For example, water, whether it's from an underground source or from the rain, is a major consideration. A soil could be stable, but once it gets wet, it can lose its ability to hold together and can slide into the trench.
Weather is important too, and not just because of rain or snow. Temperature changes can affect soil stability. In some parts of the country, and at certain times of the year, you'll be dealing with frozen soil. Soil that was once frozen can be heated by the sun during the day and can collapse without warning.
Vibrations caused by traffic or other heavy equipment can loosen soil and cause a collapse. If there's vibration in the area, the soil classification could change. How a site was previously used could also affect your ability to do your job safely. Soil that has been removed and backfilled may not be as stable as other surrounding soils.
These areas may need additional protection to prevent collapse.
The load around a trench can also affect the stability of the soil. For example, the weight of soil piles or buildings near the trench must be considered when planning protective systems.
Everyone working in the trench must be aware of these elements and should be constantly reviewing the soil for any changes in condition. You need to keep your eyes open and be ready to adjust your work plan. If soil conditions change, the competent person may need to reassess or change the protection system. The type of soil you're working in and the elements that affect it help determine the kind of safety system you'll be using.
There are 3 types of protective systems used in excavation work: sloping, shoring, and shielding. Sloping creates a gradual slope that inclines away from the excavation. This prevents soil from sliding in. The type of soil and the conditions determine the angle of the slope, and there are charts that show the angle needed for each soil type. The depth of the trench is also considered, and if it's more than 20 feet deep, an engineer designs the sloping system.
If there's a problem with vibration, the slope may need to be decreased.
Depending on the conditions, you could choose a benching system, which also prevents soil from sliding in. The benching system should have an angle that's no steeper than the sloping system used in the same soil. Shoring is a protective system that supports the sides of the excavation itself and prevents cave-ins. Shoring systems may be aluminum, steel, or wood. Uprights are the vertical part of the shoring system that are in contact with the earth and apply force to the trench walls. They're spaced as required by the OSHA tables and are held in position by cross braces and wales. The uprights are usually referred to as sheeting when they're close or tightly spaced and held in place by wales. Sheeting may be made of wood or metal or other material and may be interlocking, so it completely seals in saturated conditions. The third protective system, shielding, is a structure that is designed to withstand the force of a cave-in and protect the employees inside. Also called trench boxes, shields can be permanent structures or they can be portable and move along as the work progresses. Shields can be pre-manufactured or job-built in accordance with OSHA regulations. If the trench box doesn't fit snugly against the sides of the trench, be sure to stabilize it by adding additional soil. This will prevent any side movements or tilting. Be sure to inspect the trench box for cracks, broken welds, loose pins, and damaged spreaders. Report any problems to the competent person.
It's important that the systems are installed and used correctly. Never climb on the members of a protection system or on sloped trench walls. Ladders or other safe means should be used to get out of a trench. Once the systems are in place, you're ready to begin work. But it's important to use safe work habits while working in excavations or trenches. Make sure you know what protection systems are being used, and always work in the safe areas only. When a trench is over 5 feet deep or is in unstable soil, never go outside the area protected by a sloping, shoring, or shielding system.
It's also important to visually check the trench conditions constantly throughout the day and notify the competent person or foreman if conditions change. Your company policy may state that you may stay in the trench box if it's being moved horizontally, but when the trench box is being moved vertically, get out until it's in place.
If you have to cross an open excavation, use walkways or bridges. Don't cross on a section of pipe or a plank, or step from one bank to the bucket and then to the other bank. And don't try to jump across, because falling into a trench can cause injuries as well.
Construction, especially trenching, can be dangerous, and everyone on the job should look out for everyone else. Someone should be available to lend assistance or go for help if you need it. And if you have to work alone, make sure someone knows where you are and what you're doing. There can be a lot of equipment around a job site, and operators have a lot of responsibility. They have to watch what the bucket and blade are doing, as well as where the machine is going. If you work around equipment, you should learn what it does, how it does it, and when it's in operation. Make sure the equipment operator knows you're in the work area and never assume that the operator can watch out for you. If you're in the operator's field of vision, make eye contact so he or she knows you're there. If you're outside the field of vision, make sure you communicate where you are and what you're doing. If at all possible, stay out of the swing, reach, dump, or path of moving equipment.
Excavations have exits, and it's important for you to know where they are. For trenches over 4 feet deep, the rule is one exit, usually a ladder or a ramp, within 25 feet of your work. Being aware of the exit closest to you is important in case of an emergency.
Ladders are the most common exit route and must extend 3 feet above the shield or excavation. The ladder should be tied off if possible. Never carry tools or materials on a ladder, and never allow more than one person to use a ladder at a time. Good housekeeping habits should also be part of your routine. The trench and surrounding area should be free of debris. Water is a sign of instability, so check with your supervisor or the competent person on how to manage water.
Equipment, materials, and soil piles that are too close to the edge can roll or fall into the trench. Everything should be kept at least 2 feet away from the edge, and you may also need to use a retaining device.
Make sure your equipment is in good condition. Report any ladders or support equipment that need repairs. If there's a danger of unauthorized persons entering the site, make sure excavated areas are roped off, barricaded, or if necessary, marked with lights at night.
Underground utilities such as gas, electric, telephone, water, sewer, television, storm drains, and other lines should be marked before you begin work. But you never know. You may be the one to discover an underground utility line that was missed.
If you come across potentially hazardous conditions with utilities, stop work and notify the competent person or your supervisor. They will have to resurvey the area and may have to implement lockout-tagout procedures or emergency shutoff. If you're working in a landfill or filled area near wetlands or marshes, or an area with contaminated soil, there could be hazardous materials or gases, such as methane. Special training with respiratory equipment is needed to work in areas with hazardous materials. If you or a coworker come across material you're not familiar with, or get dizzy or short of breath while working, leave the area immediately and get help.
We've talked about soil conditions, the elements that affect them, and protective systems, as well as safe work habits when you're working in or around an excavation. But what if, in spite of your precautions, an accident should occur? What should you do?
Every employee should know the location of the nearest phone to call for help. This is important because if there's a cave-in, flooding, or other problem, the natural instinct is to try to rescue someone.
The trouble is, it's never as easy as you think, and there's a good chance you'll end up a victim too. Because time is so critical, it's also tempting to use any equipment that's nearby to try to dig or pull somebody out. But if you're not trained to rescue someone, you could injure or kill them or yourself in a rescue attempt.
The best thing to do is call for help. Get a professional rescue team there as soon as possible. There's one other requirement we need to mention. When in doubt, get out. If you have any concerns about your safety, get out of the trench and notify the competent person or your foreman. It's as simple as that.
Excavation and trenching work takes an understanding of the soil we work with and the conditions that can affect the site. Using protective systems and following safe work habits are the foundation for a safe job site. Keep alert to changing conditions and report hazards immediately. Soil moves fast, it's heavy, and it's harder to get out of the way than we think. Just imagine what it would be like if there was an accident on this site. Your job, your future, and the future of the people you work with depend on your ability to work safely.